everybody, Tania here. Now I want you to stick with me. This video is a little bit longer this month, but there's been a lot happening. Now we've all moved up and down with alert levels, which has been one thing, but we've also had the changes to the Residential Tenancies Amendment Act. Now they have reached Royal Assent, they are now in place, and they will be enforced from the 12th of February. And I think some of you will know that I mentioned this previously, that this was all going to happen. The flip side to that is, whilst I know some owners go, oh my gosh, more changes to the Residential Tenancies Act, I'm sick of being a landlord. Well, you shouldn't be, but I know some people have thought that. We've actually had an absolutely unprecedented level of inquiry for rental properties, investors looking to expand portfolios, people wanting to get into the investment market, and a lot of that is obviously driven by those very, very low interest rates. So certainly, if that is something that you're thinking about, contact our sales team, because they'd love to be able to help you and to try and work through something with you. So definitely give them a call. Now, that bit aside, let me get down to business. Yes, we've had amendment changes that have happened, and as I said, come into force from the 12th of February. I'm just going to quickly just mention a few that I see as being more significant for us here in Christchurch. So what we've got, first of all, is there'll only be rent increases will be limited to once a year. Now that's not a big deal in Christchurch, because that's mostly what we've done over the last so many years. So you might recall, at the moment, you can increase after 6 months or the first 180 days. After the first 180 days, that's gone. So just once a year. Not a big deal. I think we'll be fine with that. There's the removal of the right to issue no-cause terminations. That, a little bit more of an impact. So what we've mostly got in Christchurch is fixed term tenancies, and what that means is, ordinarily 2 months before the lease expires, we'd be talking to the tenant, do you want to stay on, going to be going, you as the owner might have said to us, look, I want the tenants out, and we've been able to do that. That has changed. Okay, so that's probably this is probably the one that's got the most significant impact on us. You just can't get people out for the sake of it at the end of the fixed term. There are some grounds, and I've got all of that here, and I won't bore you with all of that, but some of that can refer to doing major renovations in a property, and that would be sufficient to end the tenancy once the fixed term ends. And I don't mean just putting curtains up. I mean, we'd have to be doing new kitchens and bathrooms, but we can sort of work with that. But what it does mean is the tenants have kind of got those rights to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to stay on, and then it becomes a periodic tenancy. So that's something that we probably will be really focusing on. We're always very particular, as you know, about the tenant that we put in. There's never any guarantees with people, but we do try to be very particular, and now that's going to be even more so, if that's even possible, because you could potentially be stuck with that tenant for a lot longer than 12 months, and you just can't get rid of them just because you want to. So that's something that we'll certainly be working on. There's also legislation passed about antisocial tenants and all of that. Not such a big deal for us. We are very careful about that, but there's a procedure we would have to follow should that be the case. There's a few changes with the tribunal about different, making sure that notices are issued properly. Otherwise, there's fines for all of that. Again, not such a big deal for us. And we talk here about grounds for terminating periodic tenancies. As I say, there are some grounds we can end them, but it's quite a limited, they're quite limited grounds that we have to work within. But again, we can work through all of that. And then there's also talk about withdrawal by tenant experiencing family violence and that sort of thing. That's also coming into play. So if we should ever get a situation like that, then we've got procedures that we need to follow with that. The other big thing is all about the notice periods. Like, for example, if you're selling a property and you want that tenant out of the property for sale, then we have to there's a notice period of 90 days that we have to give for someone to be out of the property. So that's changed a lot from 42 days. And if you needed to move into the property, or a family member, then we would have to give 63 days notice. Again, that's changed from 42 days. We can help you through that. Mind you, you can't give that notice whilst you're in the fixed term. It would be once the fixed term had rolled over onto a periodic, which it automatically will now, unless the tenants say, hey, I want to move out. The other I think other important change, there's a few other things here, but they're quite minor. But the other thing is consent for tenants' fixtures. Now, tenants have always had the opportunity to request that they want to put up extra picture hooks or shelving or whatever. The landlord can't unreasonably refuse, and that's probably a little bit of a change now. Whilst that was in place before, it's more so now. You can't just say no, so we try to work with that, and if we allow a tenant to make a slight change, then we can also say that we want it brought back to the condition that it was prior to that change being made. So there are a few more things. Still, the legislation isn't talking about pets, so pets are still off the table at this point in time. Anyway, we've got it all here. We're working through it. We've sort of started to get our head around a number of these things. As I say, they're not overly significant. There's probably just one or two amendment changes that I think we're going to notice, but we're here, we'll work through it with you. So keep listening to any of our videos, reading the newsletters, and we'll keep you up to date with what's happening. As always, if you want to have a chat to me about anything at all, amendment changes or anything, feel free to give me a call. I'm always happy to talk to all our owners about any of the legislation or anything else. Thanks for listening, everybody.